History of the media practice. Don't ask, don't tell. That is the attitude most locker rooms in professional sports have held and that most still hold today. While we've overcome issues such as racism and sexism in sports, homophobia is one issue that people are just not ready to take a stand on. According to an article from the Gay, Lesbian, and Straight Education Network, homophobia is the rational hatred or fear of homosexuals. This diverse and almost unheard of topic in sports has received very little attention in the past due to the fact that homosexual athletes are just not accepted. While public views opposing problems such as gay rights are quickly coming to an end, major sports leagues are seen as the last ones to budge with accepting gays. As a matter of fact, there has never been an athlete to come out in the history of professional sports, except for one which just happened recently. An article written by the Los Angeles Times draws out a very interesting point. Within the last year, they state that there were about 4,000 active players within the NFL, NBA, NHL, and MLB. Recent estimates show that the gay and bisexual population of our country range from 2 to 10%. With that said, even though only one player has ever come out, it's very likely that a good number of those 4,000 athletes are indeed gay or bisexual. Former Twins player Torrey Hunter has even been quoted saying he would feel uncomfortable knowing that he had a gay teammate because of his religious beliefs. Having teammates and coaches that hold homophobic attitudes, as well as if the general public and fan base of these professional athletes are not accepting of a person's sexual orientation, it is no wonder athletes would be hesitant to open up about their preferences. The reality is that homosexual athletes do exist. They just have not yet been accepted, so they are afraid to come out. Socioeconomic conditions of the practice. When looking at the socioeconomic conditions of homophobia in professional sports, it's fairly simple. Because becoming a professional athlete is extremely competitive and careers are so short-lived, players are going to do everything in their power to keep the focus on their athletic talents, not on the details such as their religion or sexual orientation. With that said, if a player was trying to get drafted and they came out saying that they were openly gay, it might be seen as a distraction and people would most likely be focusing on that rather than how good of a player they were. This also brings up the issue whether or not players should be able to be asked questions about their sexual orientation. In this year's NFL Combine, a college prospect was asked if he liked girls. The story broke out and was seen as a way to discriminate against this particular individual. According to the NFL's collective bargaining agreement under Article 49, Section 1, it reads, "No discrimination. There will be no discrimination in any form against any player by the Management Council, any club, or by the NFLPA because of race, religion, national origin, sexual orientation, or activity or lack of activity on behalf of the NFLPA." The question asking if a player liked girls is now seen as violating this agreement. Minnesota Vikings punter Chris Kluwe discusses these issues in an interview with Anderson Cooper, seen here.
First of all, what's happening at the court this week?
Well, I think it's kind of unfortunate that the Supreme Court is moving away from this idea of making a sweeping statement here, because they have a perfect chance to show that American citizens who pay their taxes, who serve in our military, and who are being discriminated against should no longer be discriminated against.
It's interesting, though. I mean, the barriers for gay Americans and lesbian Americans are coming down on a lot of different fronts, marriage, military service, but we don't really see that happening in major sports. And I want to play, well, actually, why do you think that is? I mean, why do you think there hasn't been an openly gay player in the NFL or National Basketball Association or Major League Baseball?
Well, it's just because the window of opportunity to play is so short that you don't want to risk any sort of distraction that could keep you from keeping that job. It's very tough to make it to the professional leagues in the first place, and anything that lowers that possibility, guys are going to avoid.
I'm interested in why you have been so vocal on this issue, because you don't see a lot of players coming forward and speaking out on this issue, straight players who are taking a very public stand on this. What was your evolution on this?
Well, I've always been raised to treat other people the way I would like to be treated. It's a fairly simple philosophy. a lot of religions have it as a core tenet, and to me, it was the fact that people are not being treated fairly. If I am free to marry my wife and to raise my children, why are other people not free to do the same thing? That's what America is founded on: the freedom to live your own life.
How do you think a sports figure, somebody on a team currently, would fare if they did come out, if they did say they were gay?
I think there would be support within the locker room. There would probably be a couple guys who wouldn't get it, but that's just like society at large. There are people who never will get it, and you pretty much just have to wait for them to grow old and die off. But I think the players would be okay with it. The fans would probably take a little while to come around to it, but at the end of the day, I think it would be fine.
Conditions of symbolic construction of identity. In today's society, it is acceptable or even assumed that women athletes are lesbians. This differs with men. We are conditioned to construct male identities as straight. Recent events have been proven our culture's construction of gay identities through media coverage and public responses of Jason Collins and Brittany Grenier coming out. Why is it such a big deal for a pro-male athlete to come out versus a woman? Jason Collins came out yesterday, who's an average NBA player that is currently a free agent. Although he is not the gay superstar that Nike has been looking for to endorse, he has made history being the first male pro athlete to come out during their career. Jason's face was posted on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and every major news corporation covered it. The responses to Collins coming out have been extremely positive by the league, teammates, and society. This historical moment will never be forgotten, but why? Is it due to the media's glorified representation of straight male pro athletes, or has gay male identities been constructed by our use of language? Men use terms like pussy, faggot, gay, or sissy when making fun or putting another one down. Derogatory terms like these created the norm perception of gay male identities, at the same time pushing gays further away to being accepted and coming out. You Can Play project is trying to prevent this construction of identity from the bottom up. You Can Play seeks to challenge the culture of locker rooms and spectator areas by focusing only on an athlete's skill, work ethic, and competitive spirit. This can be found in their mission statement. Also, team captains participating in the project must pledge, "I will encourage my teammates to speak up for each other when confronted with slurs of any sort in the locker room or on the playing field." It is important to see the difference in coverage and hype of Collins' announcement in our society compared to female athletes that are actively playing in their sport while coming out as gay. Perhaps the greatest women tennis player ever, Martina Navratilova, came out in 1981. She went on to win 16 of her 18 major event titles after coming out, said McVant in his article written in the Daily Cost. Basketball player Brittany Grenier come out last week, but nobody noticed. The title of his article sums up the issue. Brittany Grenier is one of the best women basketball players ever. The media coverage or recognition of Brittany coming out as a gay was little to none, and responses were minimal, relatively speaking. As McVaughn states, the only time women get to grace the cover of Sports Illustrated is in the swimsuit edition. This proof of the symbolic construction society views gay female athletes. Women athletes are accepted and assumed by society to be lesbians. It is not surprising due to the lack of construction that Brittany Grenier, the number 2 leading scorer in women's college basketball and superstar in the pros, doesn't receive endorsements for being gay by companies like Nike or coverage on ESPN.
Conditions of mediation. As we all know, athletes make a great deal of money, but their income also comes from endorsements in different areas of marketing and the mass media. If an athlete were to come out while still playing, it would have possible repercussions. NFL agent Lee Steinberg says, "I think it would have a devastating effect in terms of marketability of any athlete to come out and talk about gayness. The whole concept of endorsements is an attempt by a company to appeal to the broadest possible audience. The thought that a company would want to step in the middle of that controversy, especially in heavy fundamentalist Christians who are making this a public issue, is just not there." To combat this past image, athletic apparel giant Nike is rumored to be waiting for its first openly gay male athlete for an endorsement deal. They have been holding LGBT summits at their Portland, Oregon headquarters and are rumored to have $800 billion set aside for boasting the image of an LGBT advocate. Although this may be true, we believe that an athlete would just not be any run-of-the-mill professional athlete, but an individual who has already established himself as a social icon in his professional sport, like a Tom Brady or a Tiger Woods. Drawbacks of the practice on diversity. When looking at the drawbacks on the practice of diversity, in the sports world, no one wants to be left out, especially in a team setting, and you want to share a camaraderie with your teammates. If a homosexual was to come out to their teammates, they feel it could potentially jeopardize the bond that the team shares. Pat Griffith, professor of social justice at Massachusetts University, says, historically, sports have been a training ground where boys learn to become men and manly. If willing to come out while playing their particular sport, homosexual athletes would have to deal with being ostracized by teammates, subject to violence, lose endorsements, and perhaps being kicked off the team. Another drawback is safety. A homosexual athlete knows safety is an area for concern. If they were to come out while playing their sport, Esser Trallo, former NFL defensive tackle, stated in his interview with HBO Sports that he knew if he were to come out while still playing in the NFL, players on his own team during practice would try to intentionally take him out. This homophobic behavior in sports environment makes passing as a straight athlete essentially required for acceptance and belonging. Homosexual athletes have to suffer in silence about their sexuality and pretend to be heterosexual to preserve good image and a positive team relationship.
Benefits, corrections, and potential trajectories of the practice. A new ground has been broken. Jason Collins, a 34-year-old NBA center who has played in 9 playoffs in 12 NBA seasons, announced April 29th that he is gay. This is the first male pro athlete in all 4 major pro sports, NHL, MLB, NFL, and NBA, to come out during their career. Collins is compared to the Jackie Robinson of our era. Baltimore Ravens linebacker Brandon Iambadejeo recently told the Baltimore Sun, "We're in talks with a handful of players who are considering it. There are up to 4 players being talked to right now. They're trying to be organized so they can come out on the same day together. It would make a major splash and take the pressure off one guy." Benefits of this practice will help the players, teams, and society. Collins, in his first-person essay written for Sports Illustrated, said, "Imagine you're in an oven baking. Some of us know and accept our sexuality right away, and some of us need more time to cook. I should know. I baked for 33 years. Passing as a straight man, like many players in pro sports have for years, can be extremely difficult. Many of these men live a life full of lies in order to pass as straight due to the fear of being outed, jeopardizing their professional careers. Having a 12-year NBA vet who has played for 6 pro teams and who has been highly regarded and respected as a player be the first openly gay athlete playing in a major American sport will help spread acceptance of other gay athletes throughout professional sports. Seeing the sport through the media, we can already see the benefits in act. NBA Commissioner David Stern said Collins has been an exemplary player during his 12 seasons in the NBA, and the league is proud he has assumed the leadership mantle of this very important issue. As we all know, before Jackie Robinson, there was no African American male to play in the MLB. Young black men had no one to look up to as a role model. Before Jason Collins, there was no one for gay athletes. Collins said, "I go against the gay stereotype, which is why I think a lot of players will be shocked. Being a respected leader on and off the court, Collins is now a leader and a role model for all gay male athletes. Hopes are this will have a top-down effect on acceptance, views of gay men in our society, hope and courage for those that are gay." Corrections of homophobia in professional sports are being seen everywhere. Straight players showing support, ex-pros coming out, and professional leagues coming out to support the LGBT issues. One example of this was on Thursday. The NHL announced that the league and its players associated has formed a partnership with the You Can Play project, an advocacy group fighting for homophobia in sports. The New York Times said that this partnership appeared to be the most comprehensive measure by a major men's league in support of gay athletes. Potential trajectories of homophobia in sports is currently being looked at in a very positive light. Brandon Iambadejeo told the Times that if an athlete came out in 2013, he'd be hailed as a hero. Although no doubt hear negative commentary, most of the public and his peers would embrace him. Collins in his article said, "I'm impressed with the straight pro athletes who have spoken up so far, Chris Cluey and Brandon. The more people who speak out, the better, gay or straight." With the support shown to Collins by society, players, and the NBA, we hope to see Jason Collins, who is currently a free agent, signed and on the court this coming season. The projected trajectories of this groundbreaking step is hopefully going to be a domino effect. Having other players come out as well, in turn, spreading the acceptance of gays in youth, high school, college, and professional sports.